So, GodzillaFest, not G-Fest, 2024, my first convention, my first anything particularly related to giant monsters. I'm going to do a full breakdown. This is probably going to be one of the longest Road to G-Fest videos I have leading up to G-Fest 2025, but I'm going to go for it. Here we go. The first stop on my Road to G-Fest 2025 was a San Francisco-based convention, GodzillaFest. This was apparently the first event of its kind held in San Francisco's Japantown. I've spent a good bit of time in San Francisco, but this was my first time actually going to Japantown, and I'm going to do my best to give you guys an in-depth breakdown of how this went. So, the big selling point of this convention was the special guest, Megumi Odaka, who played Miki Sagusa in the Heisei Godzilla films. Besides her being there, they had a dealer's room where people were selling Godzilla figures and art prints, and they had a handful of panels going on throughout the weekend. Initially, Matt, my co-host from Giant Monster BS, was going to come, but he ended up not going, so my wife and I decided we would just go to the city for the weekend, attend GodzillaFest on Saturday, and then go to the aquarium on Sunday. Everything started Friday night with a VIP meet and greet held at the Fermentation Lab. Tickets were $107 each, which seemed a little excessive, so we just drove in late and stayed at our Airbnb. Saturday morning, we got an early start, so they didn't specify a time to check in. They just showed the first panel starting at the same time the dealer's room opened up, so it seemed like everything just started at 11 a.m. We hung around the Japantown West Mall for a while before the stores opened up. That was pretty cool. It was our first time, so we just took everything in, and pretty quickly we noticed several people wearing Godzilla shirts, so we knew things were about to start. We grabbed a quick breakfast before heading over to the address listed on the website so we could get checked in and get in line for an autograph and a picture.
Oh, but the line situation, I was going to bring up the line situation at the beginning. I think they were very overwhelmed by the turnout.
Yes, several times we heard people say that the turnout was way bigger than they were expecting. And I think it was volunteers, if I had to guess, or people who work for Bay Area film events who were corralling everybody and giving us these wristbands. I was a little disappointed we didn't get lanyards. That apparently is only for the people who went to the $100 fucking dinner that they were supposed to have with Megumi Odaka, and we heard people in line saying that turned out to be kind of a shit show.
Oh no.
I don't know, maybe she ate something bad. I don't know.
Oh.
But so yeah, that was like $107 a ticket, so we said no thank you and opted to go today, and it seems like most people did that, and there were a lot of people, and then there were two lines, one for people who already had tickets who needed to get this, and then you got sent to the back of an even longer line where it was just to let you in, and I don't know why they couldn't let you in while giving you one of these before and just have one line. And then people in line started yelling at other people. They were like, there's one line, and so everybody got confused, and I was like, there's two lines, I don't know what he's talking about. You're in the right line. Like, people have been waiting to get these wristbands and started thinking they were in the wrong place. We got inside and were given the option of going into the dealer's room or getting in the line to meet Megumi Odaka. I don't know if the staff just wasn't informed or what, but everyone just referred to her as the actress. It was just a little odd in my opinion. So by this time, it was about 11:30 a.m. and we were just getting into the door. She was supposed to start signing autographs at 11, but by 11:30 she still wasn't there. So it was a little disorganized, and then we were one of the first people in line to see Megumi Odaka and get autographs.
Yeah, there was one guy in front of us, and that was it.
Somebody came up to us and was like, sorry, she's not feeling well. It's looking like 1 o'clock, but you guys are more than welcome to stay in line. Alyssa's pregnant. Standing in line to pay $90 to take a picture with an actress that nobody knows was not really on our to-do list. So we didn't go to the History of Godzilla thing because you can look that up online, I feel like. No offense to the guys putting it together, but I heard people saying they were pissed off that they couldn't go because they were in line to get their GodzillaFest like wristband and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't able to make it to the panel, which I guess nobody was until like halfway through or something. The prices for autographs and pictures really caught us off guard, especially because they did not have any of that information listed online before the event. Waiting in line for 3 hours was pretty much the deciding factor, but keep in mind, it cost $35 to attend the event, and nearly 3 times as much just for an autograph and a photo. I know a lot of people probably had a great time with that, but to me it was a little ridiculous. Next on our to-do list was entering the stamp rally. So basically we had to go to a store, get a slip of paper with a map on it, and spend $100 in Japantown, and then we could get entered into a raffle to win a prize that they hadn't even announced yet. So most of our day was just spent chipping away at the $100 as we went through the mall. It was kind of fun, but I don't think you even had to buy a ticket for GodzillaFest to take part in the stamp rally. Maybe that was the idea, but nobody was checking the wristbands, and the store giving out the maps and stamps was completely separate from all the other events. I actually had a wish list of places to visit and items to buy before we started the day, so here that is.
Okay, matcha ice cream.
That's an ice cream with matcha on it, and matcha usually has caffeine that makes my eye twitch, but I still want to try it.
Is it ice cream with matcha on it, or is it like
it's
matcha
like
ice cream?
It's like an ice cream cone where they put like matcha dust on it.
I thought it was like mixed into the ice cream though.
We got the ice cream. Give it a score from 1 to 10. Quick.
1.
It's like a 7.
Postcards, of course.
At least one postcard from Japantown. I love postcards.
Takoyaki?
Takoyaki, those are the fried octopus balls that I really want to try.
Okay, go ahead.
Maybe you should have taken a bite so we can see the inside of it.
It's good.
It is? Very savory.
I taste the eel sauce, yeah, savory.
I love eel sauce though.
It's a little bit sweet.
Really? You gonna take
It's really hot though.
show the inside of it. I bet it'll steam if you do that too.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
I don't want to see the inside of it.
I do, because I know what's in it.
I know what's in it too, but I'm kind of pretending I don't.
Okay.
Octopus isn't something I eat very often. But it's not bad.
Tell me what you said when you compared it to calamari.
It's thicker, but it's not as rubbery. So I got to try takoyaki, but my wife refused to try it, so we ended up getting her a bento box from a restaurant called Nandeya. It was pretty cool. Next up, we went to probably the most interesting event of the day, which was a Sofubi painting demonstration panel. And I think his name was James Osborne. And he said that he asked for an outdoor place to do the painting because it was airbrush.
He's airbrushing. So there's just like fumes and it's smoky in there because of all the fumes.
He did not get an outdoor
Yeah.
venue. He got a little room, a little classroom, and so Alyssa had to watch from the doorway with a mask on. Everybody got masks, to be fair, but she was trying not to miscarry, so she had to miss most of that. He demonstrated how to airbrush vinyl figures, which was pretty interesting, and I thought he did a pretty good job of keeping everybody interested, even though it was just him by himself. And then, I didn't know, but everybody who went in got entered in a raffle to win the Sofubi figure that was being painted, and I wanted to win, and then a little kid won, and I sort of realized how grateful I was that I didn't win when there were like 7 kids in there.
Yeah.
Grown-ass maybe, like, I got a toy!
Yeah.
Hooray! Then, after spending a little more money and visiting a gachapon store, we got our map stamped and we entered the raffle. So the stamp was cool and they gave us stickers, but after that we were basically done with everything in Japantown. Both Saturday and Sunday were pretty similar in terms of the GodzillaFest events. The only differences were the panels, and I wasn't really interested in most of them, so that's why we just decided to go on Saturday. After we got back to the car, we made a little video recapping our thoughts. GodzillaFest, done. Unboxing time, Godzilla haul. We got Gachapon figures, and we have no idea what figures they are because we haven't looked at them through the see-through plastic. So they don't make it easy.
Do you think they reuse the plastic on the outside?
Yeah, they probably do, but fuck them.
So how many like little kid fingers do you think this is touch?
5. Okay. We have Godzilla sitting on his lazy ass.
His tail.
You gotta plug his tail into his butt. So that's pretty freaking awesome. I love stuff. All right, you open that one. I'll work on number 3 here. Who'd you get?
Mecha Godzilla.
Oh, fuck.
He's silver.
That's awesome.
The cool thing about Mecha Godzilla is that he's silver, and he looks like a robot.
But looks can be deceiving, as we all know.
I want to put his
He is not a robot.
tail back in his butt.
And then number 3, we have Mothra, who looks like poop.
He does look like a poop.
Yeah. This is the camera I did not get signed because Megumi Odaka was charging $90 for an autograph and a photo. And she was 3 hours late because she was not feeling well. And then we got, this is like the only figure thing I bought. It's Godzilla shaking hands with Jet Jaguar in a box from Super 7. And, what?
Can you show him the back of it?
A little dark.
It's very dark.
Okay, and then for spending 100 of our hard-earned dollars in Japantown, we got 2 stickers and entered into a raffle to win something I have no idea about. We took some freaking pictures. So we got Alyssa in front of a Godzilla mural, and the flash on the camera lit up the inside of his mouth.
Which is kind of like his beam. You know, you gotta be careful.
Blurry picture of a pigeon that was like a foot away from me.
In like the trash.
Yeah. And then this is my favorite. It's just some buildings and like the tower that we weren't able to see in the Japantown Plaza or whatever it's called. And I think there's another one in here. Yeah, this one turned out pretty well. Again, the flash really did a number on this wall, but okay. And then the first thing we got today, I got this funny looking Japanese headband.
That's what chefs wear.
Matthew is getting that. Also for Matthew, a desk samurai mini blade set, because that's just seemed like Matthew type stuff. Then we got 2 really cool, they're like watercolor prints that are postcards. So I wanted to get postcards. Finally, it has nothing to do with Godzilla. I found Famicom games in a place called
Marketplace.
I almost said computer.
They were not ready for this at all. They had no idea what the turnout was going to be.
No.
They had no idea how to, they were saying, this is us working out the kinks. They're like, this is our trial run, our first ever time doing something like this. And they just didn't know what to expect at all. So.
A lot more women than I thought there would be.
Yeah, Grattan was like, well, you won't have to worry about waiting in lines at the restrooms. Every time I went to the restroom, I was waiting in a line.
Dead wrong. It was about 50-50. I think for every sweaty Godzilla fan, there was a sweaty girlfriend being brought along.
Yeah, a sweaty Godzilla wife. So now I'm giving GodzillaFest a 5. The more I think about it.
I think that's a fair score.
Yeah.
I just wish they had more to do, really. It was disorganized, and from the people running the event, there was a really passive-aggressive attitude. Early on, somebody was like, do you have a schedule for when all this stuff? And this guy threw a piece of paper. He was like, this is what they gave me. And, this was 11 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
That was more funny than anything to me. But I've got a good sense of humor, so I can laugh about these things. But I wish they had more things going on like, the panels were cool. The Sofubi painting thing was the coolest thing because it was actually, like, somebody... It wasn't something you could just, like, Google. There was, like, an actual guy who had,
It was Johnny.
experience doing that and, like, expertise. So that was cool. But otherwise, it was really just sort of like, yeah, and hang out and go buy stuff. And Megumi Odaka will be here at some point. But yeah, just go shop at other places, please. And the dealer's hall was cool. I'm not the kind of guy who can just walk in and blow $1,000 on figures that are like this big. But there were a lot of those guys here, and they spent a lot of money, so I'm sure for those people it was pretty cool. Titanic Creations had a booth. That was cool, just to see. But we weren't completely done yet. The 4-Star Theater was playing a double feature of Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla and Godzilla vs. Mothra. I think they picked those movies specifically because Megumi Odaka acted in both films. The 4-Star Theater was actually really, really cool. I'm a sucker for little independent theaters like that, and they had a full record store attached to the theater in the same building, and it had a really great atmosphere. So I think Space Godzilla, which was the first movie, sold out because it was packed inside. Outside the theater, someone was dressed as the Final Wars Godzilla, which was cool. Inside the theater, they started with a Q&A with Megumi Odaka, and that was nice actually ending up getting to see her since I didn't get the autograph. She had a hat and a mask and glasses on though, so to me she was basically unrecognizable. They had a really kind of general Q&A with her, and I don't know if she was really feeling sick or if she was nervous, but her answers were really short and she spoke so quietly that the microphone could barely pick up her voice. They had a surprise second guest, an actor who played a small role in Final Wars. He was really cool and seemed excited to be there. He gave me a fist bump on the way out of the theater, so by that point I was feeling pretty good. Then the movie started. So we had about 10 to 20% of the audience who were seeing both films for the very first time, including my wife. And when they asked who hadn't seen the films before, it really hit me that the order in which these movies were being played was completely wrong. So Godzilla vs. Mothra came out 2 years before Space Godzilla. The Cosmos characters are introduced in that film, and the events of the film directly impact the story of Space Godzilla. Like, Godzilla's fight with Mothra is particularly responsible for the creation of Space Godzilla. But for some reason, they played Space Godzilla first. Personally, I feel like Destroya and Mechagodzilla 2 would have been better crowd pleasers, and both movies also feature Megumi Odaka, so the decision to play these two movies in that order is something I have no explanation for. That being said, it was cool to see both of them in a theater as they were intended to be seen. The first thing that hit me is you can really feel and appreciate how expensive these movies are. You can see the budget in every sequence, and it all feels really grand. It's something that doesn't really sink in when you watch them at home, but it's easier to appreciate seeing them on a giant screen. The second thing was the sound mixing. Certain things I've just been numb to after watching these movies over and over seemed new because of the way that the sound was mixed. For example, I think the loudest moment of Godzilla vs. Mothra was the moment when Batra evolves into the flying form of Batra. And I had never remembered that as a particularly important part of that movie, but in the theater it seemed like a much bigger deal. So Space Godzilla started out, everything was going well, it looked good, it sounded good, there were no hiccups, and about 15 minutes in or so, Godzilla shows up, and some guy in the audience stands up in the middle of the theater and starts imitating Godzilla, like waving his arms around and stomping and pretending to roar. He was dead in the middle of the room, standing tall enough to block the screen and moving so much that I really could not pay attention to anything else. I tried to let it go after the scene ended and he sat back down, but a couple minutes later it happened again, and that's when I realized he was going to do this every time Godzilla showed up on screen. Now, I'm the person who usually gets annoyed when people talk or cheer or clap during movies, but I was aware this was a screening for fans, so I was prepared for a lot of reactions, and I really didn't mind that kind of stuff. but it had never occurred to me that somebody would stand up and play pretend in the middle of a movie like this. I was gonna grab an usher and tell him to ask the guy to go to the back of the theater or maybe like just sit down and do it, but my wife talked me out of it, and I just ended up holding my hand in front of my face like that to block him from my view. And after a while, I think somebody in the audience got up and told him to sit down, and after that it wasn't an issue, and the audience was generally pretty respectful. The third act of Space Godzilla still dragged on like I remembered, but we made it through just fine. Space Godzilla down, Godzilla vs. Mothra to go. What'd you think?
They beat up on baby Godzilla, and that was really sad. And not only did they do it like once, but they did it like 3 different times, which kind of felt insulting. But overall, everything's fine.
Really looking forward to seeing Mothra on the big screen. Godzilla vs. Mothra was scheduled for 8 o'clock p.m., but it was probably around 8:45 before it actually started. I was hoping they would bring Megumi Odaka back for something during the intermission, but she was already gone, I guess. And Godzilla vs. Mothra played, and we were starting to get very sleepy. It was still fun, and the movie was overall the better of the two, but watching them back to back, you really start to see how similarly plotted they are, and how they just play out almost the same way. It was just a lot of Godzilla for one sitting. We did not win any of the raffles, but it was still fun to participate. And with that, we had completed everything we set out to do for GodzillaFest. So we went back to our Airbnb for the night, and the next morning we got our stuff together and we were getting ready to go to the aquarium when we noticed that one of the windows on our car was completely busted open. Somebody had broken in at some point, but there wasn't really anything to steal because we kept all of our stuff with us inside the Airbnb. Whoever did it left a lighter on the ground, so the police department asked if we could bring it by, and we ended up filing a report, and then we drove home with trash bags on our window. And that was the first stop on the road to G-Fest 2025, a 5 out of 10 convention, and a broken car window. That's sort of San Francisco's specialty. Like, Chicago has deep dish pizza, New York has like regular style pizza. San Francisco has homeless crackhead car break-ins. So we really ended up getting an authentic experience. Overall, it was a new experience. I think it gave me more of an idea of what to expect from G-Fest or just other conventions like this. I expect that G-Fest is probably run better just because they have more experience doing this kind of stuff, but I think the main stuff, like the dealer's hall and the panels, is sort of what I can expect from G-Fest. It gave me some perspective, I guess. I really like San Francisco's Japantown. I'm recording this a couple days after the fact, so I've actually been kind of thinking about how I'd like to go back at some point soon, but the area around Japantown between the malls is this big sort of plaza area that you'll always see like videos and pictures of from people going there like vacationing or just visiting. And they have this big tower in the middle that's in all of the like Japantown souvenirs that they sell. And that area was completely blocked off. I guess it was under construction when we went, and it was really, that was kind of disappointing, not attached to the GodzillaFest thing. I just hate that we weren't able to like spend time there. Things were kind of bottlenecked onto the sidewalk next to a busy street, and it was just a little disappointing, but I did get some really cool pictures, and overall, I'd probably do it again, and to an extent, I will do it again when I go to All Monsters Attack and G-Fest next year. So, with that, I will conclude this Road to G-Fest video. Hope you learned a couple things about GodzillaFest in San Francisco, and I will see you in 1 month. Goodbye.